Oh my God. Should we talk about the Xi Jinping Henry Kissinger meeting? He's 100 years old. He's 100. He's 100 years old. And we have Henry Kissinger, war criminal extraordinaire. Whether we're talking about Bangladesh, whether we're talking about Vietnam, whether we're talking about the purges in South America, the side eye and looking away towards the crimes of the Pinochet regime, or he's 100 years old, 100, and he's still getting on planes, flying all. How does he even have the energy for this? And you know, I don't like to give Henry Kissinger credit for anything. My grandfather is like 65, 66, 67, you know, going on 70 years old. The idea of him doing a trip like that would be preposterous in my mind due to his age and, you know, the medical problems and stuff like that. He's 100 and he's getting on planes, flying to China and having like high level private meetings with the president of China that could possibly establish back channel negotiations between the United States and the Chinese. I mean, there's a lot to read into here about Chinese willingness to have Henry Kissinger over. Shows that they do want American and Chinese relations to improve. They want relations they want to remove the freeze and allow the relations to warm somewhat. They want channels of communication open, which after having Anthony Blinken and other officials a few months ago trying to reopen these channels of communications, it is good to see that general sentiment that at the very least we know that there's back channel negotiation avenues possible. Definitely when tensions are so high over issues like Taiwanese sovereignty. But why is this dude still going? How is he still alive? And on top of that, how is he still able to do this? Because people talk about, like, why isn't Henry Kissinger dead yet? Why is everybody else dying, but Henry Kissinger isn't dying? I have a more basic question. How is he still even possible to do this? He's 100 years old, and he's not exactly the picture of, like, pinnacle health. Have you seen, like, and I'm not trying to just, like, make fun of him for his appearance. You know, I'm very sensitive to the feelings of Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger, can we look at what he looks like right now? Like, I don't know. How did he fly to China for high-level state meetings with Xi Jinping? How? Okay, putting by my bafflement at not only his continued ability to breathe, but also him being able to do this trip in the first place. Let's read about this meeting because Henry Kissinger got a very, very warm reception in China. Not only with Chinese government officials, but also with many people on social media. Chinese President Xi Jinping has given a warm welcome to former top diplomat Henry Kissinger as the U.S. pursues closer ties with China. Mr. Kissinger's surprise trip to the Chinese capital comes amid a flurry of visits by top U.S. officials. The former Secretary of State, who's 100 years old, 100 years old, played a crucial role in helping China emerge from diplomatic isolation in the 1970s. The U.S. has stressed he is visiting in his capacity as a private citizen. But given also, Biden has seemed to really, like a lot of other administrations, like the Clinton administration, and I think in some parts, the Obama administration, Bush administration, a lot of administrations, like, kind of, you know, had some relationship with Henry Kissinger, they had some communications with him, or they have him on, they'd give him a medal, or they'd praise his, like, diplomatic prowess. So far, Joe Biden has been just completely, like, brushing him off. I don't think there's been one meeting between Joe Biden and Henry Kissinger. I don't think there's been any meeting between any high-level Biden officials and Henry Kissinger. It seems that Biden has just completely, like, snubbed the guy. Now, that doesn't mean that, like, if Henry Kissinger goes out there and actually opens back channel negotiations on some issue, Biden's going to say, no, we're not going to do that. Obviously, for practicality's sake, and if it's, you know, if it's worth it, they're going to do that. But it seems the Biden administration is kind of completely blowing him off, meaning at this point, the Chinese government has a better view of American war criminal Henry Kissinger than the American government. Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? And they're a lot closer to the countries that Henry Kissinger war crimed in Asia. Vietnam. Vietnam does not have a very positive view of Henry Kissinger for good reason. A lot of countries in Asia do not have a very positive view of Henry Kissinger for good reason. But because of the reopening process during the Nixon administration, they love him over there. But given his outsized stature in China, he could act as a back channel for U.S.-China negotiations. State television showed Mr. Xi smiling as he told Mr. Kissinger, "I'm very glad to see you, sir." They met at the State Guest House, a more intimate space than the sprawling Great Hall of the People where official meetings with foreign diplomats are usually hosted. This is how you know it was serious. My goodness. My God. You know what? Do you guys play Warhammer 40K? The Emperor of Mankind. I imagine in the guest house, in order to keep, in order to keep Kissinger alive, they have some sort of contraption similar to this, like full of like baby's blood or something, whatever, and they keep him going, just keep him going somehow in there to keep him, active and awake during those negotiations. It was also the place where half a century ago, Mr. Kissinger met Chinese officials in a secret visit that helped to kickstart the normalization of U.S.-China ties. We will never forget our old friends, and we will never forget your historical contributions to develop U.S.-China relations and friendship between the two peoples. There's actually a chance that when Henry Kissinger finally does kick the bucket, and he actually, dies, that the Chinese government is going to release a more, favorable, praising, what a great man who contributed so much, praising him in his death, trying to respect his legacy, than the current American government. God, it's wild. Mr. Xi's affectionate tone mirrored the conciliatory messaging from other top officials who met Mr. Kissinger after he touched down on Monday. Chinese statements on his meetings with top diplomat Wang Yi and Defense Minister Li Shufang emphasized the need for respect, cooperation, and peaceful coexistence between the two superpowers. The readouts also quoted Mr. Kissinger as saying that he was a friend of China and that neither the United States nor China can afford to treat the other as an adversary, and that the relation should be central to peace in the world and to the progress of our society. By the way, for those of you who are curious about Henry Kissinger's position on Taiwan, his position is abandon it. He doesn't care about their democratic institutions. He doesn't care about what the Taiwanese people wants. It's just, hey, at the time, we could use the Chinese to counterbalance against the Soviets, and now he's just a complete lack of care. Chinese state media has cast Mr. Kissinger, and I mean, hey, who would have thought that realpolitik comes with no respect at all for democracy or human rights when it comes to foreign policy? Who would have thought? Chinese state media has cast Mr. Kissinger's visit in a positive light, while on social media, many marveled at Mr. Kissinger's stamina. Discussing his trip with Weibo, Weibo, I said Weibo. Weibo is a Chinese social media app. Hashtag Kissinger can still fly to Beijing for a business trip despite being 100 years old. But some online also lamented that the U.S. was sending centurions to promote ties. Politicians with great wisdom are getting fewer, said one user. Wow. Man of great wisdom. A man of great wisdom. That's it. So I'm just gonna say about this. This is not an official American state visit. The American government has been very clear that Henry Kissinger is visiting in a private capacity. There's a really good chance that when Henry Kissinger gets back, he might brief the Biden administration on how the conversation went, but he is not there on the directive, as far as we know, of the Biden administration. It is good that there are back channel negotiations available or possible. That is a good thing. That's positive. But at the end of the day here, this alone, all this establishes is a channel of a possible back channel of communications. This doesn't move China's position on any of the big issues that we have disagreements with them on. And I doubt Henry Kissinger is going to be somebody who's even that sympathetic to those positions, like the defense of Taiwan, to begin with. God damn, 100 years old. I'm sorry, I just can't get over that. 100 years old, man. Damn. You know what would have been funny? If Henry Kissinger stepped down in China and they arrested him for war crimes. I would have zero problem with that. But that would never happen because they love him over there. Anyway, that's enough of this. Enough of that.